Today, the Senate will take yet another test vote in a push to end the DHS shutdown. Chad Pergram joining us from Capitol Hill, where now we're told that one Democrat is going to side with the Republicans. Which Democrat?
That'll be John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. Now, the Senate votes again today, but don't expect a different result. Patience is thin. The shutdown is close to bleeding into a fifth week. Democrats are insisting on changes at ICE before they will vote yes.
If Democrats actually cared about reforms, do you know what they would do? They would vote yes to get on that bill. They would bring amendments, and we would have an open and honest debate in front of the American people. They're actually not interested in that. They're interested in playing politics. They know that ICE and CBP continue to operate without any of the things they're asking for, and they actually don't care.
Today's vote needs 60 yeas to crack a filibuster. There's concern about TSA officers still working without a paycheck. Now, some at TSA are skipping work. TSA employees are frustrated as they endure their third shutdown since October.
We had call-offs. That has increased due to the furlough. Not everyone has family that can help support them. Majority of TSOs are financially trying to do the best that they can. But again, just the foreseeable future is unknown, and we just want some answers.
Senate Democrats again tried to pass a bill yesterday to fund all areas of DHS except ICE and the Border Patrol, but Republicans objected again.
All I say to my Republican colleagues, stop the speeches that you care about TSA. Don't talk the talk. Walk the walk. Let the legislation that we are proposing go forward without blocking it, and TSA will be back to work.
Now there's concern about travel for spring break. The shutdown likely continues through next week's confirmation hearing for Markwayne Mullin to serve as the next Secretary of Homeland Security. Stuart?
And remind me not to fly. Thank you, Chad Pergram. Now this, President Trump's putting pressure on Republicans to pass the SAVE Act. Texas Senator John Cornyn says he now supports killing the filibuster in order to get that done. House Administration Committee Chair Bryan Steil joins me now. Congressman, should we kill the filibuster to get the SAVE Act?
There's a lot of reasons, I think, that we got to get the Senate moving. We just saw it with the funding on DHS. We have election integrity legislation. I think the list is long. And the frustration for many of us in the House, and I think it's shared by the American people, is legislation that's as clean, simple, and straightforward as the SAVE Act, saying only U.S. citizens should vote in U.S. elections, and you should require photo identification when you vote so we know who you are, is a reasonable bill. So widely popular. Time to move it through in the Senate.
So kill the filibuster and get it through?
I think
you would.
I think going through and doing the standing filibuster at a minimum, make the Democrats stand up and explain why they oppose this legislation. I think what you'll see is that could ultimately then get to a vote. I think a lot of people get frustrated that so much goes through the House. We have Republicans in the House, a Republican president with President Trump, and the Senate isn't getting the job done time and again.
President Trump says he'll not sign anything, no legislation, until he gets the SAVE Act done. That's not. You're not going to like that because you're big on the crypto legislation, aren't you?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. I think it's good President Trump is putting a stake in the ground, beginning negotiations and pushing the Senate to get their job done. Front and center, you got to get the DHS funding across the line and get that done. But I do think it's absolutely appropriate. The president needs to be pushing the Senate, we all do, to get on with the work of the American people. And I think passing the SAVE Act is going to be absolutely essential.
Whose call is that? Is that John Cornyn? Is it, no, it's
Senator Thune will ultimately make the play call of how this moves forward.
And at the moment, he's not said what he's going to do, right?
He is not given. He's not given that indication of how that's going to come forward. The sooner we get to the vote, we're going to see where the chips fall, and I think the American people are going to be darn frustrated if this ultimately doesn't get done.
Yes, if these slowdowns at the airport last until spring break, that will put enormous pressure on who? On Thune to abandon the filibuster to get the SAVE Act, or on the Democrats to pony up some money for DHS?
Well, I think the Democrats holding up DHS funding while there's an active war in Iran is incredibly dangerous and reckless. The fact that these men and women at TSA aren't getting paid at the airports is absolutely offensive. The fact that the Democrats are refusing to move forward on this spending bill just shows you how radicalized Democrats in the United States Senate have become.
What surprises me is that the Democrats don't seem to be getting much of the blame. I really think this is Schumer's shutdown, But I don't think most of the country sees it that way.
There's so much news going on right now. There's so much in front of what's taking place that I don't think there's enough focus and recognition that currently the Department of Homeland Security is not funded at a period of time where it's probably more essential than ever. And these men and women who are working at the airports, at TSA or other agencies aren't receiving their paycheck is offensive, it's wrong, and the Democrats are to blame.
Got it. Congressman Bryan Steil, thank you very much for joining us, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.